been a couple months since PHS announced the new bell schedule, featuring 90-minute periods, no gym freeze, and 1-hour tiger time every week.
Now that the school year is in full swing, we caught up with people all around PHS, both students,
we don't need 90-minute periods,
and teachers,
it is so much easier to follow,
to get their takes on the schedule.
So how's it like adapting to the schedule here at PHS?
Me personally, just don't really find a big problem with it, but just especially on Thursdays, like class are too short, just like we're not able to get into anything and class is over.
How do you like the new schedule this year, and how does it compare to your schedule last year in middle school?
Yeah, I think it's much easier to follow this one because last year, even though we still have like a 5-day rotation, but it changed when we had breaks or days off.
And so how was it adjusting to the schedule here? Was it easy? Was it hard?
Pretty easy. I mean, it's not that much different. Just 90-minute blocks can get kind of annoying.
It really depends on the class and like how the teacher's teaching the material. Some classes like go by really quickly, and others it's like sometimes they just like run out of things to do with us, so we're kind of sitting there and they're just going on a rant.
The 90-minute blocks are far too long for a student's attention span, and I find myself getting really bored at such long periods of time, especially because the school day goes all the way until 3:20 when it used to go until only like 2:30.
Honestly, we both hate the 90-minute block periods. It's so unnecessary. Half the time the teacher lets you off on a break because they know you're really tired. Like, I feel like last year 72 minutes was the perfect amount of time.
I feel like with the longer periods, the teachers have each their own ways to help the students stay focused. I personally believe the 90-minute periods help me focus more.
With a 90-minute schedule, some students can feel a little bit deprived afterwards, but some teachers give us a short teaching period, but then they give us like a long learning period. So I think that made a good benefactor, and it also gives you some time to refresh if there is extra time.
So do you think the 90-minute blocks are useful?
I think it's too long. Like by the time the period's over, your brain is just like can't work anymore. So I think it's better if the periods are shorter.
What do you think about the 90-minute periods on like the long block days?
I think it's very nice because during the 90-minute periods, everything like flows slowly. We have a lot of time to finish our work, and also because we don't have that much classes, we don't have that much homework either.
I personally really like it, but it's a bit confusing to get your head around. Like on evens, going from period 3 to period 1, I much preferred last year's.
Do you like the new schedule overall?
No, I liked the schedule last year a lot more. Even the like rotating schedule I thought was pretty fun because sometimes it would like switch up what class I would go to on a certain day.
So do you like the new schedule more or the one before?
Personally, I do like the old schedule more because we had more time to do extracurriculars after school, like volunteering, peer group, and etc.
How do you like the new schedule overall?
I like it a lot compared to my middle school schedule.
So as a senior, personally, I feel like this schedule is pretty bad. I like the previous one where you had more time for tiger time and stuff like that.
I personally like the last year's better. I feel like the fact that they had to keep changing it up over and over is very, very nice.
The 2 times tiger time last year was really helpful because even if some people like don't need it. I know like some people just go straight home. Like bring back the 2 times tiger time.
And what do you guys think about like doing labs in science? Do you prefer doing it on 90-minute, or like do you like the way we did it last year?
I like the way we did it last year.
Yeah,
because you know it's coming, so you're not like shocked, and it's not like in the middle of something, so then you like forgot everything you did in the last period, and then you have to do it again the next day. Yeah, and it's literally perfect. Like it fits into the schedule because your lab period is just 2 regular periods. Like, that's literally perfect. So I think we should do A, B, C, D, E, and then just have 45-minute classes each day.
With the change in schedule and extension of peer group times to an hour, peer group leaders are also tasked with the responsibility of engaging freshman students for a longer time. Let's hear about how they managed to do so.
For peer group, our meetings are always an hour with the freshmen, and it does take a lot more preparation than last year's, but honestly it's not that much. It's really fun when me and my peer group co-leader work together. We have this document where we prepare our outreaches, where we talk to the freshmen about certain issues like drug abuse and microaggressions and stuff like that. And so we prepare a topic and we prepare certain like little lessons and little discussions, and then we also have some fun like activities to help the freshmen stay engaged in the whole discussion. They stay active throughout the entire hour, which we're surprised about. It's really good that they stay active the entire hour.
So do you think it's anything different having to prepare for 1 hour long peer group sessions?
It's actually really nice because we get a lot of like time to prepare, and I find that really helpful.
Since it's longer, how do you keep the freshmen like engaged throughout the whole period of time?
We try to break it up, and we sometimes will have like really serious discussions, but we also like to do like games.
Do you have peer group every week? And if so, do you miss tiger times?
We're fortunate enough that it's every other week. I know that like one of my freshmen, he was really upset yesterday because he wanted to go to a club that's meeting. I'd rather have 2 tiger times. There's a little more consistency when you know that like this day you're definitely having peer group, whereas like we don't know if we're having peer group until literally like the week before. I think that's more so a comment on communication rather than schedule, but I definitely like the old schedule better.
Lastly, the schedule has not only affected the students, but also our teachers. With longer instruction times and a new class rotation, how are they adapting?
So we know that the change of the new schedule caused loss of like 28 minutes to your teaching. How has that affected your like curriculum or how you schedule things throughout the year?
Yeah, it's a little early to really fully see the extent that that loss of time is going to have on science, but we've definitely had conversations about what information we need to cut or labs that maybe aren't super essential that we might not do anymore, just to try to make up some of those minutes that we don't have.
How does the 90-minute block period compare to the double lab periods that we had previously?
I don't think it's super different because it's the same length of time, but I think the 90-minute blocks have been really nice.
Is there anything that you do to like help your students stay focused during that longer period of time?
Yeah, we definitely try to mix it up a lot, so they're never going to be sitting in one place for the full 90 minutes. Usually I structure the block so that they have like 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 different chunks of things to do. Switching between tasks helps them refocus if they've kind of drifted off and make sure they know what they're doing and stay engaged.
What is your teaching experience like on the block days, and how do you help your students retain focus during those longer periods?
It's definitely an adjustment. Last year when we had the 77-minute block periods, and then this year we're going to a 90-minute blocks, which doesn't seem like that much of a big jump, but those extra 13 minutes I think makes a big difference. Lets me do some things that wouldn't normally have enough time to do in a regular block period. Maybe there's some more time for activities or collaborative work, projects, things like that. And then as far as breaking things up, again, trying to introduce those activities where it's not just me sitting in front of the classroom and talking the entire time.
How has it been adjusting to the new teaching schedule?
It hasn't been too difficult. I'll be honest with you, it does take me a couple of times a day to look through I have my schedule pinned up on the wall.
What about the block days? How is it like teaching there?
The block days are a bit of a challenge. No human being, especially teenagers, is meant to sit in a chair in a classroom for 90 minutes and do one task. So it's been a bit of a challenge to adapt my lessons and to make sure that the students are engaged as it can possibly be. 90 minutes first thing in the morning and 90 minutes last thing in the afternoon are a noticeable difference. So at this point, after 7-8 years of different iterations, I don't think a perfect schedule exists. What I think teachers and students both appreciate is more consistency.
If you could change one thing about the schedule we have right now to make your teaching and the students' learning experience better, what would you do?
Honestly, I would eliminate the 90-minute blocks. Selfishly, from a teaching standpoint, I would have, on the one block day, I would have all of my sections of one class, say AP US History, and on the next block day, I would have all my sections of AP Government and Politics. Just because it's very difficult to keep that continuity and consistency after 24 hours, and especially for the students too.
I personally really like the new schedule this year. I feel like it is so much easier to follow.
As a drama teacher, do you feel like the longer block days give you more time to do activities and everything like that?
I love the longer block days. The 90-minute class periods are excellent for drama. We're able to do so much. Most of the students have actually even expressed that they maybe don't like 90-minute periods in some of their other classes, but they always say, but not here because we get to do so much moving around, lots of different activities. I did not like the last schedule. It was almost like you came to school every day and you had no idea what was going on or like what schedule it was. Whereas I like that this is a little bit more fixed. It still has rotation, so there's still change in how the format of the day is set up for everyone.
If you could change one thing about the schedule, what would it be?
I would switch it so that I don't have musical theater classes earlier in the day. We sing in that class, so it's just a little bit easier for students to have voices that are more awake later in the day.
So what do you think about the 90-minute block periods?
Well, for production purposes, it's really nice. You know, I like to always start the class off, talk a little bit about what we're doing. Then students are going out and videotaping, and the idea here is you never know how long they're going to videotape. But now they have some flexibility when they come back with a 90-minute block period. Now they have time to upload their footage, so they're not racing to upload footage. A lot of students can get a lot of work done. So if anything, it actually shortens up the time span of a project being done.
And just overall, which schedule do you personally prefer more in terms of teaching?
Well, I will say this. I think the 77-minute class periods of last year were done at like 2:30. So now there's a little bit more of a longer day.
Yeah.
So now you have the same 4 blocks, they're 90 minutes, but you're going all the way to 3:20. That last block feels like a long block.
So how has it been adjusting your teaching to the new schedule?
For the students, it seems a bit challenging for the long blocks of 90 minutes. There are certain students who will not come to class or will come very late because the period is so long. I do try to have lots of transitions and breaks to help them. Certainly don't lecture for 90 minutes, that would be a disaster.
So have you had to adjust like your curriculum or teaching in any way to accommodate the 90 minutes?
What I have done is adjusted the amount of minutes that students are listening so that they'll have like 15 minutes where they're listening to me teach, and then there's a transition where maybe they're listening to music and dancing. But I would say before I did the same thing, but it's just I'm very cognizant now of them having a break.
So overall, which schedule did you prefer more?
The last schedule we had, I enjoyed probably more than this just because of the 90-minute blocks. I do like the predictability of the schedule now.
Overall, it seems like the new schedule is receiving mixed reactions. Some are happy about the new schedule stability, while others are not so enthusiastic about having to stay in class for longer periods. We have yet to see whether the schedule will stay for the next year, but one thing's for sure. Regardless of when the bells ring, students can always find ways to make the most out of their experience here at PHS.